Okay, so we're just going to go over the study guide here. So you can see that it asks us what are the coordinates of the y-intercept. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to break down what is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is where it crosses this line, which is the y-axis. And you can see that it crosses at this point right here, which we're going to call 0, 32. So when we're identifying our y-intercept, we want to use coordinates, and so here would be 0, 32 is our answer. There is a follow-up question, which is, what does this mean in context of the question, right? So what it is asking is when you look at the graph and you look at the different labels, so here we have amount of years passed, we have value of car in thousands, then this is telling us that the car value starts, or it started at 32,000. So in context of this question, I would say the value of the car was $32,000. So even though this says 32, remember that this is the value of the car in thousands, so you would want to make sure that your value is in thousands too. So domain and range. So domain and range is, first domain is how far, or what are all the x values, right? What are all the x values? So if I want to list all my x values, you can see that there's an infinite amount of x values from even this point to this point here. And in order to cover all of those points in between, I want to make sure that I use an interval. And so the interval notation that I use is the inequality one for this case. And it's from 0 to 10. So what this means is that I'm going to put 0 is less than x, which is less than 10. And the reason is I want to include all the numbers between 0 and 10, and this is the inequality, right? This is the inequality. My range again, is all my y values. My y values go as high as 32 and as low as 0, and I want to include all of the numbers in between. So again, I use an interval notation to include all the numbers in between. And you can see here that instead of using x, I use y when I talk about my range. So in terms of what my answer means within the context of this problem, my domain, you can see here, it means that the value of the car only measures it from 10 years, right? So the amount of years passed, so the amount of years changes from 0 all the way to 10, right? The amount of years where we were measuring the car changes from 0 to 10, right? So the amount of year changes as low as 0 and as high as 10 and everything in between. The range tells us the value of the car. The value of the car ranges from $0 to 32,000. So meaning the car value can be, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and it goes all the way up to 32,000, right? It goes as low as 0 and as high as 32,000. The next question asks us, what is the value of f of 5, right? So what we want to do is we want to look for when x is equal to 5, what is the value of y? So if we go ahead and find that on our graph, we can see that x is equal to 5 right here, and you can see that it lines up with this point right here where y is equal to 1, and so f of 5 would be equal to 1. So it's asking us in the context of this question, what does that mean? So this means that after 5 years have passed, the car is worth $1,000, which is pretty sad. I mean, if the car is only worth $1,000 after 5 years have passed, something bad must have happened. Maybe maybe they got in a car crash or something, and the value of the car was really decreased a lot within the first 5 years. Maybe they, really didn't take care of their car well, got in a couple of car accidents, and so the car worth has really deteriorated here. Okay. The absolute maximum is the highest point on the graph. So the highest point on the graph, if we go ahead and look, is not necessarily the highest point shown with the x and y axes, but it's on this graphed line. Where is that highest point? So if we look here, the highest point is at 0, 32, and the lowest point is at 10, 0. So the absolute max and the absolute minimum, so the absolute maximum is 0, 32, while the absolute minimum is 10, 0. So again, absolute maximum is the highest point on the graph, and absolute minimum is the lowest point on the graph, graphed on the function. Okay. So in this context, what this would mean is that the highest value of the car, and then of 32,000, was at the beginning. So the car was valued the highest in the very beginning, while the minimum of the car, the absolute minimum, is after 10 years, the car reached its lowest value. And its lowest value was $0, right? $0. So the lowest amount of money that the car reached was $0. Okay, so that's how we would do the first part of this worksheet.